Yo, what is going on, guys? It is your boy Pup. We are back for another draft analysis. This time we are in a big boy league. I mean, not really, but we are a part of the BBR-D League Season 3. If you guys don't know what the BBR is, I mean, think some bigger draft YouTubers. Think OG Albina, think John Jr., think Keegan, people that I watch, every single time they upload. But, pretty big league, and this developmental league, it's alongside a lot of other people that you've seen in other leagues with me. Noticeably, like we see Crepuscule, Muffins, we see Shadow Glade, Hunky Donkey is back, a bunch of really cool people in here. And everyone's really awesome. You should go check them out. All the links will be in the description. And this is an upload required league, so you'll be seeing videos every Saturday, I think, from all of us. So definitely go check all of that out. I'm really excited to share my run here, and whoever wins gets an invitation to the BBR main league. So we're hoping for that spot. I know I might not be the best battler in here, but at least hopefully I can give some good content and try to make it to that really top spot. But I definitely think I can compete with all the cool people in here. I mean, there's some crazy battlers who just won the BBR Summer Scramble 64-man tournament that I did very poorly in. But the people are absolutely insane in here. So we'll see what exactly happens with that. But I mean, we got to get into our draft. So let's see what we picked first. So we had a pretty middling pick. I think we were like pick 9 out of 18 or 16, something like that. I don't really know the specifics that much. So there were a couple mons that I wanted to use that I didn't really get the opportunity to use. I wanted to use Gouging Fire. I think that got picked after me, but I mean, there was some other stuff that I really just wanted to use, but I didn't have a great spot to be able to, have a wheel or get like the best sort of picks. But this Pokemon dropped pretty far, so I was glad to pick it up. I mean, it's a league with a high tier Terra, so I mean, it makes sense that this mon would drop because it's not the best Terra Captain to have, but that's going to be great Tusk. I mean, just an awesome Pokemon. You can run it incredibly offensive, 131 base attack, but it also has that 131 base defense, so it's a great pivot. One of the best spinners in the metagame. Obviously, your special defense and your speed aren't those best stats in the world. Obviously, special attack too, but you don't care about that. But it has a great, defensive typing. It's pretty solid into a lot of things. Headlong Rush and Close Combat are insanely strong. It's Ice Spinner, it's Knockoff, Rapid Spin like we said. It can set up Rocks itself. It can run, bulk up variants. It has Photosynthesis, so you can run it with the booster energy. So it's just a really great mon that is amazing in basically any role. So it's roll compression in one Pokemon, which I have heard is definitely like the #1 thing to pick, especially in these like higher tier Terra leagues or these leagues that are, with the big boys. Sometimes I do like to mess around with some fun Pokemon. But Great Tusk, I think it's going to do amazing here. Even if it doesn't, put up 6 kills every single week, or if it's not completely walling out their top threat every week, it's going to force a lot of prep. I know from playing against a ton of Great Tusks in the past, it really just forces a lot of prep, and it's just a really annoying Pokemon that can be ran in so many ways, so it's really hard to know what you're going to get. After grabbing a great value pick in the middle of the first round with Great Tusk, I wanted to grab my Terra Captain because in this high tier Terra League, that's going to be extremely important. So I want to grab something that, has a lot of sweeping potential, can really be ran as a, great cleanup Pokemon, a great wall breaker even, depending on how you want to run it. And, getting off that typing really helps it out. So that's going to be the Iron Moth. It's really nice to have some spinner, a really good spinner in Great Tusk to make sure that I'm, not taking that Stealth Rock damage, so I can, really run Photosynthesis, or it's Quark Drive, I guess, on this one. But I can run like a booster energy for that ability. I can run a Choice Scarf. I can run a Choice Specs. I can run Expert Belt. I can run Life Orb. I can do whatever I want and not really have to worry as much about the hazards. But this Pokemon is great, base 110 speed. It's not as great as it used to be, but it's still very fast, and if you give it the booster speed, then it's doing great. 140 special attack is also insane, and this Pokemon has great coverage, has things like Discharge, Energy Ball, Dazzling Gleam, on top of its stabs and Fiery Dance and Sludge Wave, so it actually is really insane as a specially offensive Pokemon, so it's great to pair that with the Great Tusk. Also, underrated ability about Iron Moth is that it could be, more of like a pivot. It can be more of a sort of defensive Pokemon. It has a 110 special defense. 80 HP is not bad as well. and this Pokemon gets Morning Sun, so you can heal yourselves up. And as a Terra Captain, you know, I can really make it so it works against any sort of special attacker. But I'm also a Toxic Spike Pokemon, or I can just click Toxic, which is really annoying. But I think it's a pretty good, you know, utility choice for this, because a lot of people are going to expect it to, you know, come with, you know, Terra. You know, I run Terra Grass and I run Booster Energy and I just try to sweep. Or I run Choice Specs and I run Terra Poison and I try to just click Sludge Wave versus the entire team. Now, I don't have to do that. And I think that this Mon really excels in a role where I don't have to every single week rely on it as a sweeper. After a pretty solid first 2 picks, I decided that I wanted to go for a fairy because all of them were falling off the board. There's not a lot of fairies that I like in this metagame. You know, I think even like Primarina is mid. I don't really want to go with like Florges. I'm using Galarian Weezing right now in SDPA. So I decided I wanted to use something that I just finished using, but I really liked it. And I felt like I could have done a lot more. So that is Screamtail, a really great Pokemon with great special defense, which is something that I'm worried about because I don't want to use my Iron Moth as a specially defensive wall every week. Its attacks are, you know, very lackluster, but it can boost, you know, has Calm Mind or Bulk Up, and it's very, very good in either of those sets. But you're mostly running it as like a nice utility Pokemon, Wish Protect sort of stuff. You can run Stealth Rocks. Thunder Wave is very, very common. Encore. You also have great coverage with like Dazzling Gleam, Psychic Noise, obviously from your stabs, but you have Ice Beam, you have Flamethrower, you have something that can really hit every single Pokemon on the opposing team. I know Joey just used it in the PPL and he did a great job with it. Unfortunately, he did end up losing from missing a Focus Blast, but you know, Screamtail is a really good Pokemon, and if it's good enough for him, it's definitely good enough for me. I really loved using it in the PWC, and it almost brought me all the way. I mean, it was really great. I used it in the sun. I used it, you know, defensively with that Encore set. Like I said, I used it just to spread T-Waves, and that Yellow Magic is hopefully going to help us out because we're going to need a little bit of help if we're going to win in this crazy big league. Now, I really don't like doubling up on typings, especially so early in the draft, but with our 4th pick, there was something on the board that I've not been able to use, is borderline, you know, a first, second round draft pick sort of Pokemon. And I mean, it doubles up on a type, but it's kind of the best type that you would ever want to be doubled up on, which is fighting. So we're getting, you know, Sneasler, obviously doubling up on that poison type as well, but Iron Moth is Terra, so it's not really that big of a deal. But great Pokemon. Base 120 speed tier really adds a little bit to our room. You know, right now we have 120, 111, and 110, then down to 87. Pretty solid, especially when everything can boost. Unburden can boost your speed by 2 times if you use an item. So, you know, it likes to run, you know, some sort of seed with terrain. It likes Norm Gem Fake Out. It likes to run something like Air Balloon is also pretty solid. It also has like Choice Band or Choice Scarf sets that are really good. Has the ability Poison Touch as well. So you pivot around with U-Turn, you just spam it, you get poisons. As soon as they, you know, give up their Ghost type or, you know, whatever resist to your Dire Claw or your Close Combat, you just click Banded Close Combat into their team and stuff just drops. So really, I'm gonna need to find a way to get past, you know, some Ghost types because they do really screw with my team right now. But Sneasler is a Pokemon that I really just could not let sit there for a little bit longer. I mean, I'm gonna use it and I'm gonna love it because I think it fits my playstyle perfectly. Something really fast, really strong. You know, obviously that's just a good Pokemon, but you know, I like to use good Pokemon. But yeah, overall Sneasler is just awesome and a Pokemon that I've really been wanting to use, so it dropping to me in the 4th round was a great excuse. The rest of my picks are really stuff that I know I'll feel comfortable with, whether I've used it before in the past or it's something that really just like conforms to my play style. And this one comes straight from the Pokemon Sports League. If you watched that Showdown series where I did a ton of work with a lot of, you know, really good low tier Pokemon. The first one here is going to be Regidrago. This Pokemon is great. It's obviously a great noob killer. You know, it kills everything that's not a fairy. You know, just clicking like Choice Scarf, you know, Dragon Energy destroys people with Dragon's Maw. That basically gives you an extra choice specs. And you know, Choice Scarfing that 80 base speed is not bad. But this is also, you know, a solid defensive Pokemon. You wouldn't think about it looking at 50 base defense and special defense, but 200 HP is very, very good. and Dragon type resists, naturally a ton of things. Obviously, this Pokemon is super matchup dependent, very, very bad into, great fairies. But, even playing into something like a Tinkaton, you have Earthquake, you have Earth Power, you have stuff that can actually cover it. You might not be able to run the same like choice specs or choice scarf set that you might want to run into another sort of team. But, I'm willing to take those risks. I'm also willing to, force my opponent to prep. If I force them to, have a Terra Fairy on some week where another Terra would be much better into me, I'm totally fine with that. I think Regidrago totally fine on my team. I think it fills a great role, and I'm gonna be looking to use it in some more unorthodox ways, which maybe you'll see, but we'll see if I actually end up bringing it. I might end up dropping this Pokemon. It didn't do too well for me when I tried it in the EDC, and that was against some pretty good competition, but we also got hacked out of the wazoo in that one, getting fully paralyzed on every single turn. It lives rent-free in my mind because I hated that. Next up, I just tried starting to fill out my Fire Water Grass core, even though I don't think that core is that important in this generation. But with a really good Pokemon, a great, designated lead, and is a great form of a Pokemon I've used in the past. So we're going to bring Ogerpon Cornerstone, obviously great with that sturdy ability, so you're able to freely basically set Stealth Rock or Spike. I actually don't think it gets Stealth Rock. It freely sets Spike on an opening turn, but it also just hits really hard with that Ivy Cudgel. I mean, a really, really strong rock move. Normally when you're running rock moves, you're rocking Stone Edge that has that chance to miss, but Ivy Cudgel is really nice, so you're never going to miss that. It has options to set up with Sword Stance, has Encore to really limit other setup opportunities. You can run Horn Leech sort of sets. You have Spiky Shield, run it more defensively like that, but it can also be super offensive, base 120 attack, base 110 speed. And I know we're doubling up on that speed tier, but who really cares? It's just a nice fast Pokemon, and something that I'm really excited to use. Now, it wasn't exactly what I drafted. First of all, I grabbed Rotom during the draft, but I decided there was another electric type that I liked with the team. So I thought that I should actually grab Ogerpon. It really takes the pressure off of both Screamtail and Great Tusk for setting up hazards, although they rely on different things. Spikes versus Stealth Rocks are a little bit different, but it's really nice to be able to force a lot of boots on my opponents, having so many good threats with the hazards. Sometimes that might be a little bit annoying for me if I want to run like Toxic Spikes in one sort of game, or if Stealth Rocks are really good in one game. It might be a little bit annoying, but I think it's really nice to just have the option, and it's a really threatening Pokemon that makes it really hard for opponents to prep for. At this point in the draft, my team would really love a ground immunity. I mean, we have the Moth that can tear it out of its typing, but Sneasler, I mean, you really don't want to be taking a bunch of Earthquakes in my team. Even Great Tusk, I mean, it takes it, but if we run into like an Earth Power Pokemon, it kind of just bodies me. So I want to grab a flying type because I think Levitate is it's solid, but it's not the best. This isn't the Pokemon that I drafted when we first started. I had two different Pokemon at first, but then I decided, you know what? Instead of running 11 Mons, let's just run 10. I'll combine them. So we're getting Moltres Galar, Pokemon that I've never used before, but I think it's really solid. It has another really high special defense stat, so I feel really solid on that half. We also have a decent speed with 90, great special attack, great bulk at 90, 90, 125. It's just a really good Pokemon. It has the Berserk ability, so when you get under half HP, you're getting that special attack boost. It can be a really potent sweeper, running agility and nasty plot sets, and it has Fiery Wrath, which is basically, just a stronger Dark Pulse with that chance to flinch as well, which can really, really turn the tides of the game. I think it's really solid. Maybe not the Pokemon that I'll be, going to every sort of week. I'm not going to, put it as the first Pokemon on my team builder, but I think it's going to be a great role piece for me. I think it can really do a lot of nice things for me. And I can run it in a bunch of different ways. You normally just see it, like I said, as that sort of setup threat. But I can really see myself running this more defensive. I can see sort of pivot variants, and I'm really excited to see what the future holds with this Pokemon. Now, getting back into the Pokemon that I did actually draft, one of the reasons why I didn't want just a Levitator It's because Mold Breaker really screws me up like an Excadrill sort of thing, because this Pokemon has an ability that makes it immune to ground. And you already know what that is. It's going to be Orthworm, Grum's favorite. It has really gone crazy for him. I really saw him use it and decide that I want to pick it just based on that. But it's a great physically defensive Pokemon. It's great to pair with a great Tusk, and it's really nice to have that Wish support from Screamtail, so I think it's really great. I've said great like a million times, but we really needed a Steel type on the team. Obviously, it gives me more Stealth Rock support. It also gives me a Pokemon that can click Body Press. It can set up with Coil. It has a bunch of different opportunities. But basically, I like using this Pokemon as sort of a pivot, maybe sometimes as that setup sort of Pokemon. But we're not going to be staying in clicking Body Press all day. We're going to be forcing doubles or forcing switches, making doubles, just making a lot of plays, trying to outplay our opponents, even though I know I'm not better than everyone in here, but I'm going to have a good time with it because look at this little dude. He's just a worm and he's having a great little time. Obviously, no Spadef, no speed, no special attack on this Pokemon, but it really makes up for that in the 145 defense. And the 85 attack stat is pretty solid, especially when you set up that one Coil, and then you get to click Iron Tail that will never miss because you get that accuracy boost off of 85 base attack on a base 120 move. Something like that is really strong, and the heavy slams are very good as well. Body presses obviously off of 145 defense, it goes insane. But obviously, special fire types kind of mess me up. And at this point, I don't have the best switch-ins, maybe like Iron Moth, but if I'm using it as a booster energy sort of sweeper, I'm going to have a really hard time dealing with those sort of Pokemon. So we're going to have to figure out a way to deal with that. Before we go into our last two Pokemon, just a quick shout out to Grum. He is going to be our analyst for the season. He's done really great work, and I love watching his videos. His editing is great, and he's just hilarious. So go check him out. He should be in the description along with all the other coaches. So make sure you check them out, subscribe to them. Subscribe to me too, because you don't want to miss all this great draft content against a bunch of amazing coaches. And if we win out, we're going to be in the BBR main league. So, you don't want to miss out on that either. But anyways, like I said earlier, there is an electric type on the team that I thought is really, really solid. Another reason why I needed some ground immunities on the team. But a Pokemon that can, set up some sort of hazards. It can be a great support Pokemon, but its ability really does all the work because we do have Pokemon with Cork Drive on our team. We have an Unburdened Pokemon, so I think the electric terrain is going to be so good. So Pincurchin is going to be awesome on the team. Decently bulky, obviously horrible HP stat. You can see it on the screen. But decent defenses. It hits really hard with like a rising voltage in the terrain, so that's really nice. But we're basically just drafting this mon for terrain. Obviously you can do like memento shenanigans to go set up and sweep with your Iron Moth or your Sneasler or your Great Tusk or any other Pokemon on my team that sets up. But also just setting up the T-spikes, setting up the spikes, being a nice little pivot, eject button sort of Pokemon that I think could be really, really solid on the team as, more sort of that role piece if we're running sort of hyper offense on the team. But, looking at what we have, I definitely don't need to run that sort of thing. My team definitely likes it with, Ogerpon Cornerstone that can lead very well into, a bunch of really great offensive attackers. But with Pokemon like Great Tusk, we can run Pokemon like Moltres Galar. We can run Pokemon, obviously, Pincurchin. Even like Screamtail, more defensive. We can run those bulky sets, and I think this mon even has some merit on those sort of teams. And last but not least, another Pokemon from the Pokemon Sports League. I also used it in the PWC. I'm using it in a team tournament that you guys will see in just a couple weeks. But I had to go with a Pokemon that's near and dear to me that I've been loving using this generation. That's Basculin. Obviously, such a good Pokemon. No Terra right now, because we only have the one Terra Captain, but adaptability, boosted liquidation, does so much damage, has Aqua Jet, which is really nice to have some sort of priority on the team that's really strong. It has a decent speed tier with 98. You love to Scarf this Pokemon to just be able to outrun a lot of offensive threats, and it really nukes them with that adaptability water moves. But you can also run it, specially. You can click Hydro Pump with this Pokemon off base 80 special attack is really solid. You can even run stuff like it has the ability Rock Head if you're in like your blue striped form. So you run Head Smash, you run Wave Crash sort of thing. You do a ton of damage. It can go in the white form, and that evolves into Basculegion. So you can actually use the Eviolite, and the defenses aren't that bad. You can actually use it. I used it a couple times, I think, in Pokemon Sports League as that sort of Eviolite Pokemon, and I think it's really fun. can do a ton of different options, and people haven't caught on to how good this Pokemon is yet. I think it's tiered always around like 3, 4, 2 points even, sometimes I've seen it, and that's just utterly disrespectful. I'd love to see this Pokemon maybe, 6 points, so I'm hoping that I can prove a little bit with it, even if I can just, trade it 1 for 1 in every game, or if, I can come out with an even KD ratio, then I'll be really happy with how I do with this Pokemon. One more thing to note though, this is my water type, so I have no fire switch in at all unless I want to run this like White Stripe, Eviolite, Max Spadef. So I mean, my fire resists are Basculin, and Regidrago, and Iron Moth. So I mean, I really have to be creative with what I'm doing this whole season, playing especially into those fire types, the strong special ones specifically. But I mean, my team favors a lot of offense, but I do have a lot of defensive pieces, obviously, with Screamtail, with the Great Tusk potentially. So I can work around really anything, but it's going to be interesting how I balance that sort of, hyper offense, go, 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 that I really love using versus, the more methodical, slow sort of balance set that could work really well, especially if I'm trying to spike stack, if I'm trying to, toxic stall, trying to do toxic spike, wear down my opponents, which I think this team can do just as well as that offense go, go, go method. But that is going to be it for me. If you guys are as excited as I am for the BBR-D League, please be sure to leave a like, subscribe, and leave a comment down below letting me know who do you think is going to be our MVP on the season. I have my money on Sneasler, but who knows? Might not even come to every game this season, I have plenty of options, but I'm really excited. Make sure you guys check out all the coaches and our analyst Grum down in the description. That's about it for me. See you guys in the next one. Peace out.